But just look at the colour in this international festival that the Féile has brought to the Falls Road. Even though I was born and bred in this part of the world, I still have been surprised by a lot of the things I've discovered. Well, the best way to see the Falls Road is the traditional way. In a black taxi, here I am at Castle Street with my chauffeur for the day, Stephen O'Reilly.
Black taxis have been a feature of the Falls Road for decades, and like taxi drivers all over the world, Stephen is a mine of information.
We started off because of the buses and that weren't on the Falls Road. So a group of men went and bought a load of taxis and put them onto the road.
I remember seeing 8, maybe 9 people in taxis, 2 in the front and as many as you could cram in the back.
That's right, Gerry. There used to be like a big back seat in the front beside the driver where 2 passengers used to squeeze in there. And in the back, you had 3 people on the back seat, and then the 2 seats that dropped down behind me here, they would have put a plank across that, and as many as they could, they got on till it.
Well, our first stop today on the Falls Road is beside a famous landmark, Divis Tower, and our expert for this area is Patsy Curtis.
This was the Divis Flats area here, all around us. There was a lot of problems involved between unemployment, the housing, and the troubles.
Built in the late 60s and demolished in the 1980s, the Divis Flats complex was seen by many as a major social problem, with its warren of concrete blocks and poor living conditions. But there was also camaraderie and humour in the community who lived there, and this was reflected in the play Over the Balcony.
I told that ambulance man not to get out of the driver's seat.
You told him, Kate. Mister, shut your crying mouth.
It's all right. They burn it, you'll get your insurance.
Look at my Tucker.
Look at my Tucker. Where's my Pepe?
That's him with Tucker.
My Tucker?
No, my Tucker.
Your Tucker?
I'm my wee Tucker.
Look at my Tucker. My wee Pepe be your wee Tucker?
I'm my wee Tucker.
Where?
In the passenger seat in the ambulance.
Oh no, my Pepe's a joyrider.
It's all right, my Tucker's experienced.
Tucker!
Give that wee man back his ambulance.
But things weren't always so funny. The late 60s was also a time of serious and deadly violence between the 2 communities of the Lower Shankill and the Lower Falls, who lived literally within a stone's throw of each other.
It was Friday at 3 o'clock, the army came in the 15th of August. That 14th of August was a very bad night here with the shooting going on. People were terrified, we didn't know what was going on. So that Friday, Saturday, all you seen lorries, cars going up and down, people's belongings on it where they were getting put out of their houses. Things changed dramatically for us then. It was never the same. But as you can see now, it has progressed. The flats have all gone now except the Divis, and now they've all built all these terrace houses here, and people's taken real good pride in their area and in their houses.
And that pride in the local Falls community has and will always be there, even though much has changed.
From Albert Street to Grosvenor Road, it was constantly at a hive of shops. In fact, there was 8 bars in that one area in less than a quarter of a mile. Now, in the same area, you haven't got one shop. It's all houses. The children then used to come out onto the streets and play more. We had no bathrooms. So usually on a Friday, Saturday, you had to go to the baths, and you used to go in and pay to get into it, pay for your soap, pay for your face cloth, and then you got so long to get in, maybe 20 minutes or half an hour. But the woman used to come in, turn the hot water tap on, and then you filled it to how much cold water as you liked. But you couldn't get any more hot water in it, so you were only limited to the time you had been in. Then she used to come out and bang the door and you had to get out. Once out and empty, she was round with a big brush and the baths were washed out for the next customer.
I remember the Falls Baths. It was where I learned to swim. It too is gone and been replaced by a new modern complex. However, the old building was a place of sadness during the Second World War, when it was used as a morgue during the Blitz on Belfast. Jimmy Docherty was an ARP warden at that time.
It was a theory that we could use the baths as a place for laying out the bodies, and people could come there, identify their ones and take them away.
How many bodies actually were in the morgue that night, or mortuary?
All told, in Belfast that night, there were 1,000 people killed 1,000 people killed, and a good proportion of those bodies were hoisted into this little small bass, quite inadequate for what was expected of them. As I would say, it was a horrific experience,
Wartime memories, and our next stop was literally a lifesaver during that time.
Clonard Monastery has always been seen as a place of refuge, and the crypt there protected both communities during the Blitz, as the monastery's archivist, Father Paddy O'Donnell, recalls.
We're on the border of Shankill here. So when the major air raid came on the 1st of July, the alarm went out. It was about 10 o'clock at night. The gates were opened and the place filled up with people. And while they were here, the Catholics stood on that side, the Protestants on that, even in death.
And this was the peace line.
Even in death. But after a while, they mixed up with one another and became great friends. And they sang their hymns, ours sang their hymns, but then they both blended.
And Clonard has always been an integral part of the local community.
There were 5 mills all around this place. Right. So our congregation for many years was a congregation of mill workers. Such a new thing to have a chapel beside their mills. So they came up and they said, look, we have our break at 8 o'clock. We haven't time to get up. We want Mass and Communion. Could you put off the Mass until 8:05? And then we'll be able to make it. And we did that. Started it later to oblige them. We have that written down in our records still. And these mill workers were heart of our congregations.
In August 1969, Clonard was once again a place of refuge for those families who had been burned out of their homes in nearby Bombay Street. Over the years, it witnessed many tragic funerals as a result of the Troubles. But it also played a pivotal role in the beginnings of the peace process when John Hume and Gerry Adams met there for secret talks in 1988.
That was on the initiative of Father Alec Reid, who brought Gerry and John together on the understanding that if Nationalist Ireland could get their act together, as it were, that would transform the whole situation and enable, a negotiation to be entered into round table with the British government and with the Unionists of the North for a better relationship between the two islands, for a better relationship between all the people of Ireland.
I think the monastery's been known as a place of peace and reconciliation.
I think so. That reputation has grown over the years because we're right here in the middle of the Troubles, right on the border between the Shankill and the Falls. The wall is just behind us here. And you couldn't but be involved in trying to transform the situation if you lived here and lived with a commitment, I suppose, to God's purpose for all our lives.
Music and culture have also been features of Clonard. Opera singer Angela Feeney grew up just round the corner from me. She no longer lives on the Falls Road, but, like many musicians who have performed in Clonard, such as the McPeak family and Brian Kennedy, who was a member of the choir there, she has fond memories of the place.
So, like me, did you get trailed along to the novenas on a Thursday evening?
We did. The world and our wives spent their Thursday nights in the novenas. You met everybody, you learned who was alive or who was deceased, and we spent many, many hours at those evenings, and it's a wonder I went on to be a singer, not somebody off the cloth, the amount of time that we spent in Clonard Monastery and in this area.
You talk about your singing career. I know it all started in St Rose's School. Miss Blake, my sister Rosalie told me Miss Blake featured heavily in your career.
Miss Blake discovered me. She gave up her lunch hours, after school hours, and it's really